Welcome back to Cow Park Bros. Jason and I are fresh off the segment discussing the Thor Love and Thunder review and our thoughts on the Thor franchise and things to come for Korg and Dwayne. And the third and last segment of the show, we're going to be talking about, God damn it, fucking baseball again, Jay. Shame on you.
Hey, again, don't put that on me. You're trying to, get rid of the reputation that you're a baseball hater. So this was actually, I put it in the hopper. You said you agreed to talk about it. So don't put this on me.
It's really not a baseball. I mean, it is.
It is. No, it is a baseball story. Stop it.
Yeah, it's a baseball story because you want it to be. But
It's,
anyway,
it's deeper. It's deeper than the game itself, but it's still a baseball topic.
yeah. So as we were discussing last week, the All-Star game was coming up. We were at the All-Star break, and the All-Star game went down. And a week later, we're talking about the fact that Dodgers Mookie Betts was wearing a "We Need More Black People at the Stadium" T-shirt at the All-Star game. See, I'm just here for the font. So, have you seen this T-shirt, dog?
I have. Very nice airbrush work. Very nice. Folks, definitely check it out. I mean, just type in Mookie Betts T-shirt. They even have it for sale on certain websites, including the person that provided the shirt to him as well. But yeah, it's very nice. Dodger blue, like Terrence said, it says "We need more black people at the stadium." I like the fact that, and it's a self-explanatory shirt. I don't think it really needs much explanation. He said it, but it's a really nice shirt. I actually was very tempted to actually buy one myself, and I still might. But I don't want to stop you from where you're going with this. But yeah, I
Wouldn't
definitely see the
it
T-shirt.
make more sense just to buy a ticket to a damn White Sox game?
Well, who says I can't do both? Why does it be one or the other, Terrence? Why can't I do both? Buy the T-shirt and that.
Because one actually proves the point, and the other one just is just going along with the moment.
Well, my point is that's why I just said you can do both.
Okay, which one have which one? How many White Sox games have you been to this year?
That'll be 0.
Okay, so that's two black men that basically are proving his brother's point by not buying any damn tickets. So,
well, the difference is I don't live in Chicago. So if I lived there, then yeah, I'd probably be there a lot. Okay. I'm more interested in going to their road games right now, sir. But there's a different reason for that. Again, off air. But yeah, yes, I've seen the shirt. But really the shirt's really more talking about not necessarily, yes, come to the stadium, yes. But in general, what he's really referring to is more black fandom in general. And that's where the conversation needs to go, is how can that be corrected, either by I guess any way whatsoever. And that's what the shirt's really talking about. Not just getting to the stadium. Yes, that's part of it. But it's talking about getting more black fandom. Encouraging those black fans that you already have to even come to the stadium in the first place. So what are your thoughts on that, Terrence Brown?
well, my first thought was why is it so difficult to get black people to be interested in baseball right now? I mean, we at least give a shit about baseball enough. We've been willing to talk about it on the show. We talk about it in our personal interactions. We follow it, even though admittedly I'm a much more casual fan than you are. Listen, the reality is baseball need me. Shit. You're going to hope and pray that I have more disposable income to actually give the Cubs or whoever the hell else the time of day. So my first initial thought was, okay, why is there such an issue with black people getting involved in baseball? And my first thought was, look at where the hell half of these stadiums are at. Think about where all these new stadiums are. Prime example, the Atlanta Braves, right? Is it really in Atlanta?
No.
And so I don't think it's an accident that the fan bases got wider when you literally have these stadiums using taxpayer money, by the way, to basically initiate white flight.
So I'll ask you, because the way it's sounding to me, it's like you're saying this is done intentionally by MLB teams. in regards to them trying to exclude black people from coming to the stadium intentionally. Is that what you're saying?
It's kind of like saying, you know, Calumet Park uh, was intentionally less black in the 60s versus the 90s when we were about to graduate.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to explain that a little thoroughly because okay, residential white flight is one thing. Commercially, and I don't know if we can really be calling baseball teams commercially, but that's a little different. What will really be the benefits? Again, I don't know what I've never been to the Brave Stadium, either new or old. I don't remember where exactly it was before, other than Fulton County. So basically, yes or no. And I know how you are with yes or no questions. You don't like to answer them, but I'm gonna ask you yes or no. So are you saying intentionally, not just the Braves, but any major league team that moves their stadium outside of the city limits, they're intentionally trying to remove the black fans from their stadiums? Are you saying that that's their intent?
I don't believe that's the intent, but
Okay.
intent and impact are two different things.
Okay.
You can't pretend as if somehow that's not related.
Oh yeah, I'm not. Oh yeah, definitely impact again. I just wanted you to clarify, just from my understanding at least, along with some people listening, if you were saying they're doing that intentionally. Okay, fair enough. But yeah,
Yeah, it's not some
um,
big conspiracy. It's not AIDS in the chicken nuggets. It's still happening though. That's the issue.
did you just say AIDS in the chicken nuggets?
Yep.
Okay.
Moving on.
Yes, please.
Uh, yeah, yeah. So that's just a thought that I've had. Is you have you have a prominent Major League Baseball star calling out an issue. He's not the first, nor will he be the last. Um, and as co-host, I'm basically calling it out. I'm like, of course, it's more difficult for the average Black American to end up and get 4 tickets to a game. You've never made it more difficult to get to the damn place than in the history of the sport. You've never made it more difficult for him or her to bring their kid. This is becoming increasingly, they're getting priced out. I mean, in general, a lot of Americans are being priced out of this experience. But specifically, if you look where a lot of Black Americans actually happen to call their home, look at where some of these stadiums are. And to me, that answers the question why you're not getting more Black people interested in going to games. Also, combine that with the fact your fan base is probably the oldest fan base in all of sports.
I don't think that really is an issue because, to be honest with you, there are probably a lot more older black people. They probably actually like baseball because, well, which I can go into later.
They like baseball, but are they paying their hard-earned coin for going to this shit? That's the
Yes,
question.
yeah, probably most people in the stadium are those older black people. Those are probably the ones in the stadiums. To be honest with you, um, again, some of that speculation, but based off numbers of the percentage of black people even playing the game, which is kind of the point I was going to go into when it comes to what the issues could be, is there's not a whole lot of black faces playing the game today like there used to be. I believe the lowest, it's not the lowest, but there's only 7.6% of the MLB players today in this season, as far as the opening day rosters, were black. Only 7.6. Decades ago, again, even pretty much we're looking at you can go to a website, sabr.org, charts the percentage of black people, also whites, Latinos, and Asians, going all the way back to the beginning of when baseball was integrated, and shows you the percentage of black people going back all the way back to the 40s. Now, obviously, back when Jackie broke in, it was really low. But the heyday of when we had the most black players was basically in the 70s and 80s. It was still pretty high in the 90s, but towards the end of the 90s, you saw that start dropping. For example, in 1980, The percentage of black players was 17.4. They got as high as 18.7. Pretty much in the 80s was always the lowest I ever saw in the 80s was 17.4. That was the lowest it ever was, or 17.3 in the 80s. In the 90s, you started seeing that dip down. As of 1999, it was 13.6. And again, you get to the 2000s, you start dipping into the single digits. Black players just stopped playing the game. Now, what can we do to speculate what changed in the 90s? I guess if I had to speculate anything, it's probably the superstardom of people in other sports, i.e., Jordan. For just an example, black kids weren't playing baseball as much. Now, obviously, you and me played Little League baseball, right? I kept going and also playing in high school. Now, at that point, didn't see very many black players, not just at our school, Shepherd, but every other school that we played, didn't see a whole lot of black players. Now, granted, obviously, we're playing mostly suburban kids, or suburban schools rather, but still, in the 3 years I played in high school, I can probably count on less than one hand the number of black players I saw on other teams. Now, other than when we were playing black high schools. You feel me?
I do, and I
And just
appreciate that you're hitting up the playing perspective.
hang on,
Because
hang on.
I
I want
feel
to get
like
into. I
no.
want
Let
to
me finish this real quick. I think it was perfect that I kind of called out some of the socioeconomic stuff, and then you went and hit it from the perspective of, okay, look at what young black people sports wise are actually playing. And I just wanted to compliment you on that because I feel like that's an important angle.
Yeah, exactly. And one other aspect I do want to say, when it comes to anybody who's a casual fan, let's say if you want to watch a few games, but you watch the All Star game, for example, which we just had again, the 2022 All Star game, because Mookie Betts was wearing a T-shirt there. Even just from the All Star perspective, in this All Star game, there were 80 plus All Stars between both teams. 80. How many of those players were Black Americans? 3. Compared to years past, for example, not much of a difference. In the 2012 All Star game, there were 5. In the 2002 All Star game, also 5. Go back to 92, there were 12. Year before that, there was 13. Year before that, there was 14. So even if somebody was just going to watch the All Star game and that was one of the games they watch, you saw more representation in those games than you do now. Again, only 3 Black Americans: and Tim Anderson, Mookie Betts, and Aaron Judge. So even at the highest level, you're not seeing those examples there. So I think that's a big part of it, especially when we're talking about, like you mentioned, if you were in the guard of the young black fans, they're not seeing anybody playing that. And that's going to be the problem. Tim Anderson is probably the best thing they got in regards to an example of that. He's young, he's good, he's clearly a Black American, he's exuberant. So if anybody was going to change that, it'll be, I don't want to just put it just on him, but it would be him and probably Mookie Betts a little bit as well. But definitely Tim Anderson. Hashtag White Sox. But then I guess the question also goes into what's MLB doing to increase their black fandom. What do you think about that? I think it is on them to, flat out, it's really on them to do something about it if they really care.
So here's what I'm going to present to you. I'm going to throw something crazy out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to assume that the average black sports fan needs to see a predominantly black product.
Are you speaking about people like me and you, or people like younger than us? When I say younger, I don't necessarily mean people 20 or 20. I mean people younger than that.
I'm talking about, I don't even factor in age into it. I'm talking about, because we are not a monolith. The only thing we can really speak to is the things that you and I would say, oh, I think I would buy that, or I think I would partake in that. What I'm saying is, I flip this, since we already said we would consider going to this NASCAR deal. A majority of the product that is NASCAR is white.
But here, okay, true.
Let me
But we're,
let me
ta-
finish. Let me
but we're
finish.
talking about going one time, though. We're not talking about going every one time. That's it.
Right. No, no, no. We're talking about going at all. That's the thing. See, it's okay. It's okay if you go once. Right now, they're battling for people to even considering them being an option.
Well, that's another difference too, Terrence, is that, which it's probably more of the problem, is that yes, you and I can go to this NASCAR event, which again is going to be predominantly white fans, which is what it is.
Not just predominantly white fans. I'm talking about the product. I'm talking about the personnel.
Okay.
You look at the average NASCAR driver, it is going to be a white man.
Okay. Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, I don't I'm basically saying I don't think the issue is that the personnel on the field being not black Americans is the issue. And I'm saying that's one perspective. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. There are some people that feel that way. At this point, this is MLB's problem to figure out. Because if your goal, just like NASCAR, just like the NHL, just like any other league that is trying to figure out, okay, there's only so many there's only so many seats I can fill in a given year, right? And you got to do what you got to do in order to get more mind space, more mind share, to even be looked at as a viable entertainment option for these people, no matter what color you are, because the ultimate color is green. And so what I'm saying is, I appreciate the perspective of, oh, we need to see someone that looks like us. Yeah, but more importantly, I need to see something that I enjoy, and I need to be marketed to in a way that makes it likely that I will even consider it as an option. And so what I'm saying is, it's great if there is a cavalcade of older black gentlemen that are showing up to all these damn games, but the reality is, Father Time comes for us all, and you got to find your replacement. Major League Baseball is having issues finding the next great fan, regardless of skin tone. And one question is, do they even care about that? This hypothetical black fan.
Well, first of all, okay, I'm glad you clarified. Do they care about the hypothetical black fan compared to do they care about the whole fan problem in general? Because of course, I'll say, of course, they care about the general fan problem in general. Yeah, I'll say they do. Because even if they're not getting black fans, they still want to get fans in the stadiums, right? So, but the question is, what can you really do? I mean, obviously, they have several programs out there to kind of encourage young black players to play at the youth level, the high school level, and stuff like that. And I'm sure there are in certain areas. But the problem is, I think they're not going to have an issue with necessarily with black kids playing little league baseball. The problem is, are they going to keep playing after that? Because again, again, obviously little league and up is a little different. But obviously, you and I grew up in a black neighborhood, Calumet Park, Illinois. So all the kids that I played baseball with, majority of them were black, right? A lot of them were really good too, and they could have played in high school, but they didn't. They chose to play something else, whether it be basketball, football, track, whatever. Baseball wasn't one of them. So I think that's the problem too. Is those good players that you have, make sure that they keep playing in high school or college or draft or whatever. I think that's part of the problem too. I watched, and some of that may be financial potentially. I watched a parcel of an interview with Deion Sanders talking about the same issue as far as black fandom and getting kids to play baseball. One issue he mentioned was somewhat expense when it comes to, because obviously when kids get good at sports, whether it be football, basketball, volleyball, what have you, the option to play on like select teams, travel teams, AAU teams becomes available. So for those kids that are really good, they're going to get that chance, but it costs money to do that. And he gave an example of the fact that in certain instances, he said a lot of instances, it can cost $2,500 to play on a baseball select team, travel team, AAU team. Like you just said, when it comes to cost of even getting into the stadium, which, by the way, baseball isn't anywhere near expensive as football and basketball, FYI. But the cost to play those teams is very expensive compared to other sports. So by comparison, sometimes those kids get priced out of playing baseball, and that makes them automatically jump to something else. So I think that's another problem as well, potentially. Like I said, in general, getting kids who start playing baseball at a young age in Little League to get them to keep playing it. Especially when you have so many other friends that are playing something else. Because kids oftentimes want to play sports with their own friends. That's how I started playing baseball myself. I wanted to play because everybody else was playing. You were playing, Reggie was playing, every other kid, not every other, but a lot of other kids in school were playing. I'm like, I want to play too. Hadn't really even gotten into my sports fandom yet, but I want to play baseball because my friends are doing it. So how easy is that for kids in those urban neighborhoods, even though you start playing baseball, you see certain other friends playing basketball, football, or whatever else you want to name, that's going to start getting them taken away to playing something else. You know what I mean? So MLB definitely tries with with the RBI baseball program and other programs I can name real quick as well. But again, getting them into baseball is great, but getting them to keep playing baseball once they get older, that's what the problem comes into play. I think I mentioned Tim Anderson. I think even Tim Anderson said his favorite sport is actually baseball or rather basketball. And I forgot the story about how he wound up actually playing baseball this deep into his his age or whatnot to get to play in the major leagues. He said his favorite sport was basketball, and that's what he wanted to play was basketball. So even that one example is how easily, somewhere down the line, could he have just gone and said, "I want to play something else." Kyler Murray, another great example, drafted by the Oakland A's. Is he playing baseball right now? Nope. Just signed a huge contract to play quarterback for the Cardinals. So, plenty of examples like that. Even though, in a lot of different aspects, a lot better to play baseball, and a lot of different reasons to play football. Bigger money, bigger guaranteed money, better for your health, better longevity in the sport and in life. But still, perfect example of a guy choosing to play football in probably the most dangerous position of all, as opposed to playing baseball. So,
yeah,
so yeah.
I think you touched on a lot. I'm glad you mentioned the Kyler Murray deal because I felt like, dog, this was a guy that pretty much could call his own shot. I'm like, okay, which sport you want to make millions in, and football won, and to me that just shows the allure of football. Like here you are, you touched on a lot of it. Like, hey, one of these sports, you are way more likely to have your brain cells scrambled than the other, and yet he chose football, and that's something that, frankly, a lot of sports can't compete with, not just Major League Baseball.
Well, true, but for some reason that seems to be. I don't. You know what? I'm not going to say that. I was going to say that seems to be the option a lot of these players get into, choosing between baseball and football. I know Jameis Winston. He played both sports at Florida State, baseball and football. But always expected he would go into football, even though he was a pitcher. So I think Kyler Murray might have been too. But
I think he was actually an outfielder.
Okay, well there you go. So and obviously good pitchers aren't necessarily a dime a dozen necessarily when it comes to Major League Baseball. Every team's going to want a pitcher, whether they be a starter or a bullpen guy. So even for his longevity, you're a pitcher. You only got to pitch one day a week.
Yeah, assuming you don't have Tommy John surgery,
which everybody gets at some point, and people supposedly come back even better. So, but again, it's not your brain getting scrambled by a 300-pound lineman, or whatever. So, but yeah, that's just another point I want to bring up when it comes to that as well. Even at that level, people just real quick can decide, you know what, I even can play in the Major League Baseball. I'm at that point in my life where I can do that, but I'm going to say, I'm good.
Well,
I'm sure there's articles out there as to why he chose that, but who knows?
Everybody just needs to be like Deion and just play both. Clearly,
true, but I kind of wonder if people will even allow you to do that anymore.
I think it's crazy that we were potentially robbed of the awesomeness that was Deion literally playing a baseball game and a football game in the same day. Like, how awesome is that?
Well, we were close though. We were pretty close.
Yeah, well, screw those guys and Tim McCarthy.
I'm sure he still says screw Deion Sanders. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, on that note, that wraps up our "We Need More Black People in These Seats" segment. And with that, we'll wrap up the show.